In the name of Allah, who is most merciful and the most gracious. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to all of you. Students, this topic is for the class 5th and we are reading the chapter Air and Water. And last time we saw the quality of water and also the soluble and insoluble impurities that are present in water. And today we are going to read how can we purify water from insoluble impurities. Students, there are different ways of purifying water from the insoluble impurities. First one method is sedimentation. Students, what is done in sedimentation? In this method, a mixture of water and those insoluble impurities are allowed to stand undisturbed for some time in a container. In this method, what happens? The water is allowed to stand for some time in a container. The heavy impurities that are present in this water, they will automatically settle towards the bottom, and the clear water will be present upper and the impurities will settle down, and this process is called as sedimentation. So students, what is done in sedimentation? A mixture of water and soluble impurities, or simply the water is allowed to stand in a container, and after some time the insoluble impurities settle down to the bottom, leaving the clean water. The clear water comes to the top, and this process is called as sedimentation. The second process, decantation. Students, this decantation process is done after sedimentation. This pure water that is present at the upper surface, this is poured gently into another separate container without disturbing these impurities, and this process is called as decantation. Students, we can improve the rate of sedimentation by adding the chemicals like alum, and that adding of chemicals, that process is called as loading. Now students, the third method, that is filtration. This method is used to separate the water from insoluble impurities like sand by using a filter paper. Look at the method. What happens? To filter a mixture of water and sand, a cone of filter paper is kept inside a funnel. Students, this mixture of water and impurity, this is then allowed to pass through the funnel. The sand does not pass through the filter paper and remains on the filter paper, that's behind the filter paper, and this impurity, that is sand, that is called as residue. The water that is pure and that is free from any impurity, that clearly passes through the filter paper and gets collected in a flask below this funnel. This process is called as filtration. So students, there are three processes of purifying water from insoluble substances. First, sedimentation. Water is allowed to stand for some time, and after some time the impurities settle down to the bottom, and the clear water comes above the impurities. This process is called sedimentation. Second, decantation. This is done actually when this clean water is poured into another container without disturbing those impurities. This process is called as decantation. And third, filtration. This is done by using a filter paper. The clean water passes through the filter paper, whereas the impurities are left behind, that are called as residue. Now we will see second, how can we remove soluble impurities? Students, for removing soluble impurities, there are two methods. First, evaporation. In this procedure, what happens? The solution that contains the soluble impurities like salts, that is heated. After some time, when this water gets heat, it gets evaporated, that is, it changes into gas, and the impurities are left behind. As the impurities will not change into any gas, so in this process we are left with only impurities. Whereas the water, that's the clean water, that goes up and mixes with the air as water vapor. Number second point process is distillation. What happens in distillation, students? Through this process we get the impurities back as well as we get the pure water back. The contaminated water is heated in a flask. This heated water changes into steam and the impurities are left behind. Students, the steam passes through the condenser. It cools and changes into water back, and this water is pure, which is collected in a flask, separate flask, as you can see on your book, the method of distillation. Now students will see purification of drinking water. As we know, students, that purification of drinking water is very much necessary because we can fall ill if we take the polluted water or the water that's unfit for our health purposes. So contaminated water may contain mercury, it may contain germs, bacteria, etc. So if we drink it, it can have dangerous effects on our health. So it's very important to clean the drinking water. It is done. How it is done, students? It is done by 3 points. Number first, boiling. This is a very common method of cleaning the drinking water, as you might be knowing that you eat boiled water, you drink boiled water at your homes. What happens because of boiling, students? The boiling kills the germs that are present in the water. It also makes most of the water pure, and it is a very simple way to boil the water and drink the boiled water. You should also drink the boiled water instead of unboiled. Number third, chlorination. Students, this is the process of addition of chlorine tablets in water. Why we add chlorine tablets? Because it kills, these chlorine tablets kills the germs, and this process is called as chlorination. Number third, water purified. Students, in our houses we get purified water from purifiers. They have filtration systems and tubes that produce the ultraviolet rays. This might be present in many of your houses, that it is a filtration, it contains filtration system that produces the ultraviolet rays, and these systems are very effective. And these systems are mostly used in urban houses, that's urban areas, and in rural areas they are not that much popular. So that is how we can clean and purify the drinking water, and it's very important for us to drink the boiled water, because unpolluted water or unboiled water, if we take that, we can suffer from serious health damage. Thank you.